I opened the door and froze. There, on our sofa, was a child I had never seen before, maybe 6 or 7 years old, holding Leon's favorite mug like it belonged to him. The woman sitting next to him stood up slowly. She was tall, graceful, with eyes too familiar. "You must be Emma," she said. That was the moment everything cracked. The life I thought I had, the marriage I thought I knew, was not real. I had come home early from a canceled client meeting. I thought I would surprise Leon with lunch. Instead, I walked into something I was never supposed to see. My heart was already racing when I asked, "Where is Leon?" The woman looked calm, almost prepared. She touched the boy's hair and said, "He's on his way. He didn't expect you so soon." I wanted to scream. "I can see that," I replied, my voice cold. She studied me like I was someone in a photo. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way," she said. "But maybe it's time." Her words didn't even make sense yet. I could barely breathe. I just stared at them, the woman and the boy, in my living room. Then the front door opened again. Leon walked in with a paper bag in one hand and his phone in the other. When he saw me, his face lost all its color. "Emma," he said. Then he saw them. "Oh no." "Oh yes," I said. "Go ahead, Leon. Tell me what's going on, because I think we all deserve the truth now." He looked at me, then at them. I could see panic behind his eyes. "I can explain," he said. "Then explain," I said. "Please, explain why there's a child on my sofa, why this woman knows my name, why I feel like a stranger in my own home." He set the bag down and sighed. "His name is Ethan. He's my son." Time stopped. "What did you say?" I whispered. He looked down. "I said, he's my son." My legs gave in, and I sat on the arm of the chair. The room started spinning. The woman sat too. She kept the boy close to her side. "My name is Carla," she said. "Leon and I were together before you. He didn't know about Ethan until a few years ago. I told him when Ethan was 3. I turned to Leon. "You knew for years, and you never told me." He nodded, slowly. "Because I didn't know how. I was afraid." My voice cracked. "You lied to me for 3 years." "I didn't lie," he said too quickly. "I just didn't tell the truth." I finished for him. "Same thing." Carla handed Ethan a small toy car. He played quietly, unaware of what his presence had done to my heart. I asked, "Why are they here? Why now?" Just before we continue, I'd love if you could subscribe. It helps me share more stories like this. Leon hesitated. "Carla lost her job last week. She might lose her flat. She asked if she and Ethan could stay for a little while." My voice turned into ice. "In our home, without asking me." He nodded again. My stomach turned. "So, what else haven't you told me?" I asked. "Is this the only secret?" He didn't speak. His silence was louder than anything he could have said. I walked into the kitchen. I needed space. Air. My hands were shaking as I opened a cupboard and reached for a glass. I looked up and saw our wedding photo. Leon's arm around me, my smile full of trust. I had never felt so stupid. I walked back into the room. I need to speak with Leon. Alone. Carla nodded and stood. She took Ethan's hand and quietly left. They didn't even look angry. It was as if this was all normal to them. When the door closed behind them, I looked at Leon. You let me believe I was your whole world, and all this time you had another one. You had a child, a past, a secret life. He looked like a man crumbling from inside. I didn't want to lose you, he said. I thought if I told you, you'd leave. I crossed my arms. So instead, you built a life on a lie. He nodded slowly. I'm sorry. That word was empty now. I had heard it too many times from people who knew better. I said, I don't know what hurts more, what you did, or that you thought I couldn't handle the truth. He stepped closer. Emma, please, let's talk this through. You mean everything to me. I stepped back. Do I? Because I feel like nothing, like a second choice, a safe choice after the one that gave you a son. He whispered, That's not true. I looked at him. Then why does it feel like it is? He didn't answer. That night I sat alone on the sofa. The mug Ethan had used was still there. I stared at it for a long time. His fingerprints, his quiet smile, his connection to Leon. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed thinking about the woman who entered my home like it was hers, the boy who unknowingly broke my heart, and the man who thought hiding the truth was a form of protection. The next morning, Leon sat across from me in silence. I looked at him and said, I need space. I need time. I need to think about whether I can live with what you've hidden, or if I even want to. He nodded. I understand. He packed a small bag. He didn't ask how long I needed. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He looked at me once more as he reached the door. I do love you, he said. And I said nothing, because I didn't know which Leon was speaking. Later, I sat at the kitchen table alone. The clock ticked loudly. I stared at the empty chair where he used to sit, where we shared meals and plans. That chair now felt like part of the lie. I opened his closet. His shirts were still there. His scent lingered. I shut the door quickly. I didn't want to remember softness. I didn't want to feel anything kind. Instead, I opened my laptop. I searched through our photos. Brighton, birthdays, smiles. But the pictures didn't tell the truth. They only showed what I was supposed to believe. A message from Leon came later. I'm staying at a hotel near the office. Let me know if you need anything. I love you. I didn't reply. The next day, my sister Claire showed up. I hadn't called her, but she always knew. She saw my face and pulled me into a hug. Tell me, she said softly. So I did. I told her everything. About Ethan, about Carla, about the secret that had lived in my home without me knowing. She listened. She didn't judge. When I finished, she asked, "Do you want me to stay with you?" I shook my head. No. I need to be alone. I need to think. She left tea and quiet behind. 3 days passed. The flat felt silent and strange. I still did normal things, coffee, email, feeding the cat, but nothing felt real, like I was living inside someone else's life. Then I got a package. No name, just my address. I opened it and found a notebook. Blue cover. Leon's handwriting on the first page. For Emma. I thought maybe you'd want to know my side. I closed it. Not yet. I wasn't ready for his side. I was still trying to understand mine. A week passed. Then another. Leon did not message me again after the notebook. Maybe he knew I needed time. Or maybe he was too ashamed. I was not sure what I wanted from him anyway. I had spent years believing we had something unbreakable. Now, I could not trust what was true and what was only decoration. I still had the notebook. I kept it in my drawer. Some nights, I touched the cover and thought about reading more. But most nights, I left it closed. His voice felt too close. Instead, I tried to focus on other things. I started walking every morning, just around the neighborhood, past the bakery, the florist, the tiny post office where the woman behind the counter always smiled. These little places grounded me, even though I felt like I was floating outside my life. One morning, I saw Carla. She was sitting on a bench near the park, Ethan beside her, holding a juice box. She did not see me at first. I stopped walking. I almost turned back, but then I looked at Ethan. He was laughing at something on her phone. So innocent, so unaware of what he had stepped into. I walked over slowly. Carla looked up and stood. "Emma," she said. Her voice was soft, unsure. "Hi." I nodded once. "Hi." We stood there for a moment, two women connected by the same man but standing on completely different ground. There was no anger in her face, only tiredness. "I'm sorry," she said. Her eyes didn't leave mine. "You already said that," I replied. "I know, but I needed to say it again. I never meant to hurt you." Her voice was steady, but I could feel the weight behind it. "I believe that," I said, even though part of me still didn't. But it still happened. She looked down at Ethan, then back at me. "He's a good boy. He's kind. I didn't bring him here to take anything from you." "I know," I said, "but he already did, and it's not his fault." That truth hurt more than anything else. We sat down on the bench together. I didn't plan to, but I was too tired to keep standing. "How long were you and Leon together?" I asked quietly. "Only a few months," she said. "We were young. It wasn't serious, But then Ethan came, and things got complicated. You didn't tell him at first? No, she said. I wasn't sure he'd want to know. And by the time I told him, he was already with you. So you both decided to keep it quiet, I said. My voice was not angry, just tired. She didn't answer, but her silence confirmed everything. I looked at Ethan. Does he know? She shook her head. Not the details. He thinks Leon is a friend who visits sometimes. I haven't told him he's his father. Not yet. That surprised me more than I expected. Why not? Carla looked out at the park. Because I don't know if Leon is ready, and I'm not sure Ethan needs that kind of confusion right now. His world is still small, safe. I nodded slowly. There was so much I hadn't considered. I had been so caught up in the lie, I hadn't thought about the boy who lived in it too. Did you ever want him back? I asked. My voice was low. She turned to me. Number we ended long before you came. But Leon wanted to help. He wanted to be there, and I let him. I stood up slowly. I need to go. I didn't want to cry in front of her. She didn't stop me. Thank you for speaking to me, she said. As I walked home, my head was full of noise. Talking to Carla didn't make me feel better. It only made the truth clearer. Leon had been living in two worlds, mine and theirs, and I was the only one who didn't know it. When I got home, I opened the notebook again, the one Leon had sent. This time, I read more than just a page. Leon's handwriting filled each page with words I didn't expect. Not excuses, not plans to win me back. Just memories, confessions, and regrets. He wrote about the first time he saw Ethan, about how small he looked, about the guilt that wrapped around his chest every time he visited. He wrote about me too, the night we danced in the kitchen, the weekend we got caught in the rain, the way I laughed when I thought no one was watching. Each line was like a bruise pressed with a finger, painful but familiar. You made me feel steady, he wrote, and I ruined that because I didn't know how to carry both parts of my life without hurting you. When I finished the last page, I sat for a long time. My fingers rested on the cover. The flat was silent, but my thoughts weren't. I didn't know what I was supposed to do with all this truth. Truth that had come too late. That weekend, Claire came back. She brought soup and fresh bread and didn't say much until I started talking. I told her about Carla, about Ethan, about the notebook. She listened like a sister should, with her whole heart. I still love him, I said, but I don't know if I trust him. You don't have to decide right now, she replied. Love isn't a reason to ignore pain. Sometimes it's the reason to face it. I nodded. Her words sat with me the rest of the night. On Monday, I messaged Leon. I asked him to meet me in the park, the same one where I'd seen Carla. He replied within minutes. Of course, he wrote. Anytime. When I arrived, he was already sitting on the bench. His face looked older, or maybe I was just seeing him differently now. He stood when he saw me, but I sat down first. He followed quietly. I read it, I said. The notebook. He looked down at his hands. I meant every word. I know, I replied. And that's what makes it harder. He didn't say anything. He let me speak. I believe you love me, I said. And I believe you didn't want to hurt me. But love doesn't erase the choices you made, or the fact that I was the last to know about your son. In my own home. I know, he said softly, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right, if you let me." I looked at the trees across from us. The leaves were starting to fall. I thought about seasons, how they changed slowly, almost quietly, and how people sometimes didn't notice until everything looked different. "I'm not ready to forgive you," I said, "but I'm ready to stop being angry. For my sake, not yours." He nodded. "That's enough. More than I deserve." We sat there for a long time, not as husband and wife, not yet, but as two people trying to find a way forward, even if that path wasn't clear. When I got home, I placed the notebook on the shelf beside my own journal. 2 lives, 2 voices, 1 truth. Whatever came next, I would walk toward it with open eyes. The days that followed were quiet, not empty, but careful. Leon did not message again, and I did not reach out either. Something between us had softened, but that did not mean it had healed. Silence can be peaceful, but it can also be sharp. I started doing small things I used to enjoy. I repotted the plants on the balcony. I sketched for the first time in months. I rearranged the bookshelf. Each task was tiny, but it felt like I was pulling pieces of myself back together, one by one. Claire visited on weekends. She brought pastries and new gossip, trying to keep things light. But her eyes still searched my face, looking for cracks. I could tell she was waiting for me to fall apart. I did not. Not because I was strong, but because I had already broken, and now I was beginning to rebuild. One afternoon, as I cleaned the kitchen, I found a child's drawing stuck under the fridge. It showed a red house, 2 stick figures, and a cat. On the back, it said in big letters, "Me and my daddy at the red house." My hands trembled. I sat down on the floor, holding the paper gently. The red house. It was ours. My house. A place I thought was only mine and Leon's. Now I knew it had existed in another world too, in Ethan's imagination. That evening, I messaged Carla. "Can Ethan visit the park tomorrow? I'd like to say hello." Her reply came quickly. She said yes. The next morning, I met them at the bench. Ethan ran ahead, smiling. Carla gave me a small wave, then stepped aside so we could talk. "Hi, Ethan," I said. "Hi," he beamed. "Your daddy's friend." I smiled. "Yes, something like that." We sat on the grass and played with a soft ball he carried in his backpack. He told me about his school, about a girl who always won at tag, and about a squirrel he named Freddie. He was pure light. He didn't know anything about the tears his life had caused, and I didn't blame him for any of it. As he spoke, I watched the way he moved, so much like Leon, the tilt of his head, the way he smiled after saying something silly. He was a part of Leon, yes, but he was also a world of his own. After a while, Carla joined us. "Thank you," she said gently. "That meant a lot to him." I nodded. "He's a sweet boy. You've raised him well." She smiled. "He reminds me of Leon sometimes, but he's softer, more open." She paused. "You know, Leon talks about you often. Not to Ethan, but to me. He misses you. He's scared to say it, but he still hopes." I looked down at the grass. I didn't know what to do with that hope. It felt like something fragile that might break if I held it too tightly. That night, I sat at my desk and opened my journal. I hadn't written anything personal in weeks. I took a breath and wrote, "I can forgive him, but I don't know if I can live with what he did, and maybe that's okay. Maybe forgiveness doesn't have to end in reunion. Maybe it just has to end in peace." The next day, I asked Leon to meet me again. We met at the cafe where we used to spend Sunday mornings. It still smelled like cinnamon and fresh bread. I wore the dress he once said made me look like spring. He smiled when he saw me, unsure but warm. I've missed this place, he said as we sat down by the window. Me too, I replied. I didn't waste time. I've read everything, the notebook. I've spoken to Carla. I've even played ball with Ethan. Leon's eyes softened. Thank you, he said. I didn't expect that, but I'm grateful. I forgive you, I said. His shoulders lowered and his breath caught for a moment. But I wasn't finished. That doesn't mean we go back to how we were. It doesn't mean I forget. It means I'm choosing not to carry the anger anymore. I'm choosing peace for myself. Leon nodded slowly. I want that for you, even if that peace doesn't include me. I'm not sure yet if it does, I said honestly. But if we ever try again, we have to start fresh. And it has to be based on truth. Always. Truth, he said, even when it hurts. We sat quietly. This time, the silence didn't feel like a wall. It felt like space. Open, wide space where something new might grow, or might not. As we stood to leave, he said, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me too, I replied. For the first time in a long while, I meant it. Over the next few weeks, we didn't talk every day. Sometimes we sent messages. Sometimes we didn't. There was no plan, no pressure, no promises, just air between us, gentle and still. I kept my routines. I started sleeping through the night. I cooked meals for one and stopped setting the table for two. I bought new pillowcases. I hung a new painting. I saw Ethan once more in the same park. He waved when he saw me, but he didn't run over. He was chasing butterflies, laughing. And I knew then I could not hate him. I couldn't resent him. He was part of Leon, yes, but he was also his own story. And so was I. One morning, I stood by the window and watched the sky lighten. The world felt fresh, unfinished. And I realized I didn't need answers anymore. I had questions still, yes, but they didn't own me. I had found my way back to myself, not because Leon had changed, but because I had.